Hi, Walter.
Hey, hello, how are you?
I'm good. Nice music.
This music a little bit. How's life, Jan?
I'm good. I'm calling actually from student accommodation conference in Madrid, so not bad.
Oh, cool. Oh, yeah, I know that. You're with a lot of people there, I guess, or not?
Yeah, it's pretty packed and good conversation. Good to see what are the trends in the student accommodation across Europe. Not bad.
Well, have fun there. So I will give you the floor straight immediately. So after your presentation,
Perfect.
you can go back as fast as possible.
Perfect.
So do you have some slides with you?
I have the slides, so I will share the screen if I can, and
Yes.
let's jump to it. So we have some time for Q&A as well. Yeah.
Cool. Let's do that. Yes, I see your slides right now.
You see the slides?
Yes, impact of technology on ESG.
That's what we should talk about today, right? So I'll introduce myself first. Thank you everyone for joining. My name is Jan. I'm a co-founder of Spaceflow. Spaceflow is tenant experience platform. Basically, we aim for better and more sustainable life in residential or office buildings. So I will try to share some of our experience and maybe give you more detailed examples of how technology can impact the ESG targets. But at the beginning, I would maybe start with this number. Do anyone know what the 51 billions number represent here?
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot. It's not our revenue,
unfortunately. No, it's also not mine revenue, but it would be great.
Unfortunately, that's the first bad news. I'll have some good news, no worries. That's the number, 51 billion tons of greenhouse gases we globally produce and emit into our atmosphere every year. And hence that became the great challenge of our generation, right? To get from 51 billions to 0 by 2050, which is not an easy task. So we need to look into the number to understand it. And I believe that you've already heard or seen this number. But again, put it into some perspective. If we look at the huge industries like transportation, includes all the transport, it represents 16% of these emissions. Agriculture, huge industry, 19%. So if we combine these two huge industries, we are still below the 40%, which is the part of what real estate industry produces and emits to the atmosphere. So I think that that's kind of the great challenge of our industry, to get from 20 billions to 0 by 2050. Again, not an easy task. I hope that I have some good news and examples how technology can help to achieve these challenges or these targets. Again, I would move one step further to understand how the real estate produce these emissions. And we can see that 30% of these emissions comes from the construction phase and 70% from the building operations, how we use the buildings, how we live in the buildings. I'm not the expert of the first part on the construction, so I'll just like fly through it. And then I will give you some examples on the building operations and what we can do there. But still, let's stop a bit on the construction. There's still a lot of emissions that we produce here. And there is an interesting projection for the next 40 years, that globally we will develop new Manhattan, let's say, every month. So in November, we will develop the same amount of building square meters as is in Manhattan. In December, new Manhattan. In January, new Manhattan. So we definitely need to get better here in the construction part. As I said, I'm not an expert, but I'm a fan of two solutions here. And that's the repurposing and retrofitting of the existing buildings. In 2050, there is a statistic that in 2050, there will be 80% of all the buildings are the buildings that already exist. So we have already the stock in the market, but it's not used as we would need to be used, right? And that's why I'm a big fan. That's much more sustainable to repurpose the building or retrofit the building that already exists rather than develop always modern buildings. And that leads me a bit to the real estate operation part, where I will share more examples, because that's about how we use the buildings, how we can be efficient there. And before we get to the technology, I agree with, I listened actually, interesting podcast, Zero by Bloomberg, I believe. You can check in on this. And Bill Gates said there that we will never solve the climate change by asking us people to consume less, to give up on our comfort, to change the behavior, right? And that's where technology must step in to make the life and how we use the buildings more efficient. So I believe that it is the first key role of technology to enable more efficient use and operations of buildings. I'll talk about it in a bit. I believe this is like no-brainer that technology is the key to become more efficient. And I want to share here even another key role I believe that technology can play in that, and that's the simplifier, let's say, to adopt that technology on a larger scale. Because if we need to make a global impact, we need to adopt these technologies on a scale. So let's look at it one by one, and I'll give you some examples. So the first one, how to operate and use buildings more efficiently. Technology is definitely the enabler. And the good news is that we have already technologies existing in the market that are able to prove the efficiency. So if we look at energy consumption, for example, we are able to see that we can save 40% of the energy that we consume in the buildings via optimization of heating systems. There are case studies on 16% in the first months only via IoT sensors, if you place them in the building. So the technologies are there, and we can definitely do better on how we use energy and consume energy when living or working in the buildings. The second example here, and we've touched upon this, is how we utilize the space. There is already a lot of room, the stock of the square meters, but it's the question is how we utilize that. So of course, good approaches and new trends such as shared amenities, hybrid way of working that help to utilize the space to full. And I used one example from parking, because parking, probably you experience this as well. It's an issue, especially in the big cities, to park, right? But on this number, I want to show that there are already parking slots, but it's crazy if you look at regular day in an office building, for example, that the parking slots are empty. They are like occupied from 20%. And again, only with the technology coming to the place, with the smart software to manage these parking slots, we are able to increase the occupancy rate by 90%. So eventually, we don't need to develop a new towers with the parking slots. It is more about how we utilize the space we have already available more efficiently. And the last part here, because we shouldn't look at it only from the single building perspective, but it goes beyond to smart cities, smart mobility. Maybe you've heard about the 15-minute city concept, which there's a lot of articles and talks about it. So go through it. I used here again experience that I see in our projects with our clients and our partners, that we enabled, in this case, package delivery or package deliveries with the tech. We can do the deliveries much more efficiently. We can save a lot of rides and drives, and therefore we can save a lot of carbon emissions. Another example is that you can have fully electric fleet of the cars that are delivering the packages, and with that you can save a lot of carbon emissions. So the technology is there. Of course, we cannot stop to innovate, but technologies are already there. A lot of them are in the market, and that leads us to the second point, which is how to adopt them on a large scale so we can make greater impact. And that's where I believe that technology again can play the key role to make these enablers part of our life, so we are becoming much more efficient throughout the whole life and every day. And this is just an example where I believe that this is the simplicity that we need to embrace in our industry. Of course, you can create and generate electricity, as you can see in the first picture, but I assume that no one will do it, right? You will not run this every evening to watch TV. But the simplicity is in the second picture, where you can just implement great technology and energy generating sidewalks. So you walk there as every other day, but you generate the technology. You generate the energy. And that's a great example how every other solution we need to make as simple to use as you could see in that picture. So Spaceflow, we have experience with this. And so I gave here like 3 examples. With our platform, we are able to have 70 to 100 tenants in our average building, 70 to 100 tenants using the platform. And that's how we can start to create even the bigger impact. We believe in the simplicity. It must be simple to use. So what we can do here, again, as a technology, we can automate a lot of manual tasks. So we cannot ask our clients or our users to do more, to steal their time, let's say, and ask them to adopt the technology. So we can do a lot of automations, and then it drives the adoption. The second point here, it's pretty connected, but we can consolidate a lot of solutions into one platform and translate it, let's say, and it's our job to translate it into the most user-friendly environment, again, to drive the adoption. So users and our clients use it on even larger scale. And the third point, which I love most, is about gamification and incentivizing even the tenants and users, in our case, to act more sustainable. So even though Bill Gates says, and I kind of agree with him, that we cannot change the whole society and how we behave, if it's fun and it's easy to use and it becomes part of your daily life, we can drive this movement and sustainable behavior through the technology, and technology should empower this behavior. So one example of on the energy consumption, we have the data and we can gamify this within the building, within the community, to show you how you can consume less, and it's even fun. So you consume less than your community, here is the reward, and you can this reward and be or earn some nice rewards at the end. So that's how we approach it, and we believe that these small steps via the technology can make the greater impact globally in terms of the sustainable behavior. And the last part, because we should talk here about ESG, and same as I did, I'm talking here about the E, the environmental. And I think we forget a lot the S part, the social part, which is a bit crazy, I think, because the social part is about people. It's about how we should treat people and ourselves, but it's not in the DNA of the business, right? Like how the S can drive a business. Like we talk money here, so it's not usually or that often part of our strategies. But it should be, of course, it should be, because at the end, it is really, as I said, about us, about the well-being and how to be happy, kind of, and how to have happy customers. So there are already in place some certifications and then some methodologies, let's say, that help us to translate this into something measurable. So even businesses can obtain this and put it into the strategies. So here I just want to show you again that technology, to be authentic here, I use our experience, but it could be any technology, can directly or indirectly impact these scores to retain or to gain these certifications. And in the GRESP certification, in the performance part, we are talking about building operations, we can impact 82% of the achievable points. So you can see that again, we don't need to talk only the environmental impact, but even if it's about us, people, and socializing, it is enabled, and again, more efficiently enabled with technology. Some examples, as you can see straight from the methodology, from the certification, it's a lot about understanding the tenants, how satisfied they are, what they prefer, so you can then deliver on these requirements or these outcomes from these surveys back to the community and make sure that your tenants are happy. That's all what I prepared for you. Thank you for your attention. And Wouter, if we should switch to the questions.
Yes, great. I have a question about these certifications, because do you believe that they have already enough in there to really, well, make these massive changes to get this carbon reduction as fast as possible?
As I said, I think they help to educate and put some structure for the business and unify, consolidate the approach. So definitely there could be even more, but it helps us, the whole market, to educate and make an action or take an action to get the certification. On the CO2, there are parts on this which you need to prove the energy efficiency for sure.
Yeah.
On the social part, I still think that it's not easy to quantify this. It's like,
is that too difficult?
Which is natural, right? Like it's about like a social and well-being. It's not numbers. So yes. I think in this part, it's necessary to have some methodology. So even for businesses, for the decision makers, they can understand if it's good or bad for their business, which I believe that we all agree that it is good to have healthy yes. and happy customers.
Yeah.
But to show it somewhere on the board meeting, you need to have some methodology behind.
Cool. I also saw you, I think you were also one of the companies that was accredited by Smart Score.
Yes.
What do you think of
exactly.
them? Yeah.
Again, I think it's great that these players are in the market because they educate us, they educate the market. I believe that there might be a good synergy between the landlords and us tech companies, because we are meeting on one platform. We know that we can help them to become more smart building and more efficient building. And they are joining this membership or club to find these partners. And get the knowledge, exactly. So it's great, I think, but again, the right partners.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you very much, Jan. I will not keep you up any longer because you are at the conference in Barcelona. Say hi to Klaas, Rishi, Ron, and to all the people down there. Have a lot of fun, and thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me here. I enjoyed. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.